Teoday. At my 16th birthday, my parents kicked me out, then asked for $85K for my sister's wedding after seeing me on Forbes. Hannah always wondered what happened to that letter. 4. The 16th birthday, the final setup. On Hannah's 16th birthday, the trap was sprung. $200 went missing from their mother's purse. Lily's accusation came with tears and trembling. I saw Hannah take it yesterday. But Hannah noticed something she'd remember for 20 years, the slight pause before Lily's tears, like an actress finding her mark. The moment their parents turned to Hannah with familiar disappointment, Lily's expression flickered. Not distress. Satisfaction. This wasn't impulsive. This was the final move in a game Hannah hadn't known she was playing. 5. The expulsion of family's choice. That night her father's words were ice. I won't have a thief in my house. Hannah tried to defend herself she'd tried so many times before. Her mother cut her off. Lily has no reason to lie. You've always been jealous of her. When Hannah turned to Aunt Margaret, who was visiting for the birthday dinner, her aunt looked away. No one would meet her eyes. At 10 p.m., Hannah walked out with a backpack of clothes and $43 she'd saved from babysitting. Her father didn't offer her a single dollar. He didn't offer her anything. Cliffhanger. I thought that night was about $200 I never took. I thought it was about a lie my sister told. I was wrong. The $200 was just an excuse. The lie was just a tool. What really happened that night was something I wouldn't understand for 20 years until I saw what Lily had hidden in Grandma's jewelry box. Part 2. Rising Action. 20 years of silence and strategy. Part Objective. Show Hannah's survival and success while revealing how Lily maintained control of the family narrative for 2 decades. Establish Hannah as strategic. She didn't just succeed. She prepared. Plant the crucial detail that Hannah tried to reconnect, but was rejected. Timeline context. Ages 16 to 35, the 20 years between expulsion and Forbes. Key points to develop. 1. Survival and the attempts to reach home. The first year was the hardest. Hannah couch surfed with friends, worked 2 jobs, finished high school through sheer stubbornness. She tried to contact her parents 3 times that year, a letter, a phone call through Aunt Margaret, another letter. Each time, silence. Aunt Margaret reported back with sadness. They're still angry. Give them time. What Hannah didn't know, her letters arrived, her parents read them. But each time they considered responding, Lily intervened. She called me last week, Lily would say. She said terrible things about you both. She doesn't want to come back, she just wants to make you feel guilty. The letters stopped. The silence became permanent. 2. The will and the inheritance theft through interpretation. When Hannah was 22, Aunt Margaret let slip that Grandma's estate had been settled years ago. Confused, Hannah asked what she'd inherited. Aunt Margaret went pale. Grandma Rose had left $50,000 to each granddaughter in her will, with the vague instruction that parents should distribute as appropriate when the girls come of age. The parents, as executors, thumbnail text, had decided that since Hannah had abandoned the family and rejected all contact, her portion should go to Lily to honour Grandma's memory properly. They hadn't stolen the money. They had rewritten what Hannah deserved. 3. The choice not to fight building instead. Hannah could have hired a lawyer then. She had grounds. But she was 22, working full-time, attending night classes. She had no money for legal fees, no emotional energy for a battle against a family that had already thrown her away. She made a different choice. I'll build everything myself. I'll become someone they can't ignore. And when I'm ready, when I have resources and proof and power, I'll get answers. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't moving on. It was patience. 4. Success in silence and 3 years of preparation. Hannah built her company slowly, deliberately. She avoided press, declined interviews, stayed invisible. Twice, Forbes reached out. Twice, she refused. But at 33, something shifted. Aunt Margaret, after years of guilt, revealed more. Lily had been the one who told their parents Hannah was calling with hateful messages. The communications Hannah thought were being ignored were being reframed. Hannah hired a private investigator, then a lawyer. For 3 years she gathered documentation, the will, the estate records, the timeline of lies. She learned about Grandma's letter still unaccounted for. She built her case, and then she chose her battlefield. 5. The Forbes decision bait on a hook. At 36, Hannah finally said yes to Forbes. This wasn't about recognition. It was about creating a public record of who she was before the confrontation began. It was about making her family come to her. It was about giving Lily a reason to panic, and panicked people make mistakes. The article ran. 72 hours later, her mother's text arrived. The trap was set. Cliffhanger. For 3 years, I had gathered evidence and built my case, but I was still missing the most important piece, the answer to why. Why had Lily worked so hard to erase me? Why wasn't the money enough? That answer would come from Lily herself, in a moment when her perfect mask finally cracked. Part 3 climax. The demand, the question, and the dollar. Part objective. Maximum dramatic tension. Expose the family's unchanged nature, no remorse, no curiosity about Hannah's survival, only financial demands. Hannah's pointed question creates the first crack in Lily's facade. The $1 response becomes the iconic moment that forces Lily into a mistake. Timeline context. Present day 1 month after Forbes' publication. Key points to develop. 1. The family meeting 20 years compressed into small talk. Hannah chose the location. A coffee shop in a hotel lobby. Public, neutral, recorded by security cameras. Her parents looked older, smaller than she remembered. Lily looked exactly the same, polished, poised, performing. For 45 minutes they talked about Hannah's company, her Forbes feature, her impressive journey. Not once did anyone mention the past. Not once did they ask where she'd lived that first year, how she'd survived, whether she'd been safe. Her mother said, "We always knew you'd do well. You were so independent, even as a teenager." Hannah recognized the rewrite. In their version, they hadn't thrown her away. They had set her free. On my 16th birthday, my parents kicked me out after believing my sister's lies. Years later, they saw me on Forbes, and my mom texted, "We need a family meeting." They asked for $85,000 for my sister's wedding. I sent them $1 with a note that said, "Good luck." Then the police showed up and exposed that my sister's lie years ago wasn't just a lie, but a shocking dark scheme. 2. The $85,000 reveal entitlement without shame Lily announced her engagement to Daniel Morrison. Old money, family connections. The wedding would be tasteful, but appropriate to his family's expectations. Cost. $120,000. They'd already placed deposits totaling $35,000, knowing Hannah would want to contribute to her only sister's happiness. The remaining amount needed, $85,000. Hannah listened as her mother explained that family helps family, and this is what Grandma would have wanted. The same grandmother whose money they'd given entirely to Lily. The audacity was so complete it was almost impressive. 3. Hannah's question, the first crack. Hannah had prepared for this moment. She spoke calmly. "Before we discuss the wedding, I have a question about that night, the night you asked me to leave." Her parents shifted. Lily's smile tightened. "The $200 I supposedly stole," Hannah continued. "Did you ever find it?" Silence. "It's a simple question." "After I left, did the money turn up?" Her mother looked confused. I don't remember." Hannah turned to Lily. "Do you remember, Lily?" "You were so certain I took it." Lily's voice came too fast, too sharp. "That was 20 years ago. Why are you bringing up ancient history?" Hannah smiled slightly. "Because I never took it. And I think you know that." 4. Lily's mask slips the tell. For a moment, something flickered across Lily's face, not guilt, but irritation. The irritation of someone whose narrative was being challenged. Then the mask returned, but differently. Harder. "You were always jealous of me," Lily said. "Always the victim. You have all this money now, you can obviously afford to help your family. Stop making everything about yourself." There it was. The real Lily, just for a second. Hannah filed it away. She stood, thanked them for their time, and said she'd consider the request. She already knew her answer. 5. The $1 response, a message only they would understand. 1 week later, a courier delivered an envelope to her parents' home. Inside, a single dollar bill and a handwritten note on plain paper for Lily's wedding. "This represents what my presence in this family was worth to you. I hope it's enough, Hannah." The $1 wasn't about bus fare or any specific memory. It was a mirror, showing them exactly how they had valued her. Her phone rang 17 times that afternoon. She didn't answer. Cliffhanger. I knew what would happen next. Lily had spent 20 years as the family's protected princess. She had never been told no. She had never been challenged. And people who've never faced rejection don't handle it well. She would escalate. She would make noise. And in her desperation to punish me for defying her, she would open doors that had been sealed for 2 decades. Part 4. Falling action, double revelation. The unraveling of 20 years. Part objective. Deliver the two major reveals in sequence. First, Lily's narrative control revealed she didn't intercept communications. She poisoned the well so thoroughly that no communication could succeed. Second, Grandma's letter discovered, revealing Lily's true motivation wasn't money, but the need to be the only one seen. Show Hannah as the architect of this exposure, with Lily's mistakes providing the evidence. Par une exposition. The pattern before the fall. Part objective. Establish that Hannah's expulsion wasn't a single event but the culmination of years of scapegoating. Show how Lily learned to manipulate, how parents were conditioned to blame Hannah and plant seeds for later revelations. Create deep audience sympathy through recognizable family dynamics. Timeline context. Present day 6 weeks after the $1 incident. Extended timeline for realism. Key points to develop. 1. Lily's mistake the police report. For 2 weeks after the $1 envelope, Lily left furious voicemails demanding Hannah stop playing games and act like an adult. When Hannah didn't respond, Lily escalated exactly as predicted. She convinced her parents to accompany her to the police station, where she filed a report claiming Hannah was harassing the family and had stolen family heirlooms years ago. The police took the report, interviewed Hannah by phone, and concluded quickly. Sending $1 isn't harassment. If there's a property dispute, that's a civil matter, no charges. But Lily had now made official accusations, and official accusations require responses. 2. Hannah's countermove, the lawyer's letter. Hannah's lawyer had been waiting for this. Within 10 days, the family received a formal letter. It was not a lawsuit, not yet. It was a detailed request for documentation. Please provide evidence supporting the claim that Hannah George stole family heirlooms. Please provide estate records showing the distribution of Rose Miller's will. Please explain the basis for reallocating Hannah George's $50,000 inheritance to Lily George. The letter wasn't threatening. It was worse. It was thorough. It showed that Hannah had documentation. It showed she had been preparing. 3. The second layer revealed Aunt Margaret's testimony. Aunt Margaret received a copy of the lawyer's letter. She called Hannah that night crying. "I can't keep quiet anymore," she said. "I've been a coward for 20 years. What she revealed confirmed what Hannah's investigator had pieced together. Lily had never intercepted communications. She hadn't needed to. Every time Hannah's letters arrived, every time Hannah's name came up, Lily had been there with poison. "She told me Hannah called her and said horrible things," Aunt Margaret admitted. "She told your parents the same thing, different horrible things each time. She made it seem like Hannah was attacking the family from a distance. Your parents stopped wanting to reach out because they thought Hannah hated them." 4. Lily's self-destruction, the engagement party incident. Daniel Morrison had noticed his fiancée's obsession with the $1 incident. "It's $1, he'd said. Why does it matter so much?" Lily's explanations grew increasingly unhinged. At their engagement party, 6 weeks after the police report, Daniel overheard Lily on the phone with her mother, screaming, "She's trying to ruin everything, just like she always did. She was always Grandma's favourite, and she couldn't stand that I finally got what I deserved." Daniel had never heard Lily mention a grandmother's favouritism before. He had never heard Hannah described as the favourite. The story he'd been told was that Hannah had abandoned the family. He started asking questions Lily couldn't answer. 5. The third layer, Grandma's letter and the ring Aunt Margaret had one more confession. While helping Lily move into Daniel's apartment months earlier, she had found a small box at the back of Lily's closet. Inside, a ring she recognised as Grandma Rose's wedding ring, and beneath it, a letter, still sealed, addressed to my Hannah. Aunt Margaret had left the box where it was. She was ashamed of that now, but she could describe exactly where it was. When Daniel, now suspicious. Timeline context. Present day, Hannah is 36, receiving her mother's text 72 hours after Forbes' publication. She reflects on the years leading up to her expulsion, not just the night itself. Key points to develop. Found the box himself and read the letter. Everything became clear. Grandma had written that she saw something special in Hannah, that she believed Hannah would rise above the smallness of this family. She had left Hannah her ring and expressed hope that Hannah would know she was loved, even when the world made her doubt it. Lily had hidden this letter for 22 years. The money was never the point. Lily needed Hannah erased because she couldn't bear that Grandma had seen Hannah as special, not Lily, Hannah. 6. The collapsed Daniel returned the ring and letter to Hannah through her lawyer. He ended his engagement that same week, telling Lily only, "I don't know who you are." Lily's carefully constructed life imploded. Her parents, confronted with the letter and Aunt Margaret's testimony, couldn't deny the pattern anymore. The question that broke them wasn't about money or lies. It was simpler. Where did Hannah live after you threw her out? Do you even know? They didn't. They had never asked. They had never looked. For 20 years, their 16-year-old daughter could have been dead in a ditch, and they wouldn't have known. And they hadn't cared enough to find out. Cliffhanger. My parents sat in their living room, Grandma's letter in their hands, and finally understood what they had done. They looked at me with something I had never seen from them before. Not love, not guilt, but fear. Fear that I would treat them the way they had treated me. They didn't know that I wanted something much simpler than revenge. I wanted Grandma's ring, and then I wanted to be free. Part 5. Resolution. The family you choose. Part objective. Deliver complete, satisfying closure. Show proportional consequences for all antagonists, serious but realistic, legal but not melodramatic. Hannah claims what was stolen, rejects false reconciliation, and builds forward. End with powerful message about chosen family, self-worth, and legacy transformed. Timeline context. Present day, 4 months after the Forbes article, 2 months after the revelations. Key points to develop. 1. Legal consequences proportional justice. Hannah's lawyer negotiated a settlement that avoided public litigation but delivered accountability. Lily was required to return Hannah's $50,000 inheritance plus reasonable interest, totaling $87,000. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. They had asked for $85,000, and now they owed more. Lily also faced potential misdemeanor charges for the false police report. In exchange for Hannah not pushing for prosecution, Lily agreed to 100 hours of community service and a formal written statement acknowledging that her accusations were unfounded. It wasn't prison, but it was a record. And for Lily, who had built her identity on being perfect, it was devastating. 2. The parents' reckoning not forgiveness, but Clarity Hannah's parents requested a meeting. She agreed once. Her mother cried, offered money, offered anything to make this right. Her father, who had always been the harder one, sat in silence, looking older than his years. Hannah said what she had come to say. I don't need your money. I built everything without you. I don't need your apology. I've been healing for 20 years without it. What I need you to understand is this. You made a choice that night. You chose to believe Lily without evidence. You chose not to look for me afterward. You chose comfort over your own child. That choice had consequences. I survived those consequences. But I don't owe you forgiveness just because I survived. 1. The Forbes moment present day Hook Hannah sits in her corner office when her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Congratulations on Forbes. We need to talk. Mom. She stares at the message for a long time. 20 years of silence, broken in 12 words. She isn't surprised she's been waiting. What surprises her is how little she feels. Not anger, not hope. Just a cold readiness, like a general who has prepared for a battle that finally arrived. 3. What Hannah took back Grandma's ring fit perfectly. Hannah wore it on her right hand, not hidden, not displayed, just present. The letter, now framed, sat in her home office, where she could see it when she worked late. I see something special in you. 22 years delayed, the message had finally arrived. The $87,000 went into a separate account. Hannah knew exactly what to do with it. 4. The family that matters. Hannah's real family gathered that weekend. Aunt Margaret, who had finally chosen courage over comfort. Rachel, the college roommate who had shared her tiny apartment when Hannah had nothing. Marcus, the mentor who had believed in her business plan when banks wouldn't. These were the people who had stayed when staying was hard. They had dinner together, laughed together, told stories about Hannah's origin story that had become legend among them. Remember when you showed up with $43 and told me you were going to build an empire? Rachel said. I do, Hannah replied. And I remember you said okay and handed me a blanket. That was what family meant. Not blood, choice. 5. The Rose Miller Scholarship. Hannah established a fund using the recovered inheritance. The Rose Miller Scholarship, using Grandma's maiden name, would support young women who had been abandoned or estranged from their families and needed help completing their education. The first recipient was a 19-year-old who had been kicked out of her home for reasons her family called irreconcilable differences. The real reason didn't matter. What mattered was that someone believed in her when her family didn't. Grandma Rose had seen something special in Hannah. Now Hannah would see it in others. 6. What happened to Lily? 6 months later, Hannah received a letter. No return address, but she recognised the handwriting. Lily had written 3 pages, part accusation, part justification, part something that might have been apology if Lily knew how to apologise. You ruined my life, it said. I hope you're happy. Then, near the end, Grandma was wrong about you. You're not special, you're just lucky. Hannah read the letter once, then put it through her office shredder. Lily still didn't understand. She never would. And that was no longer Hannah's problem. Final closing. People ask me sometimes if I hate my family. The answer is complicated. I hated what they did to me. I hated the years I spent, wondering what was wrong with me, why I wasn't worth loving. I hated the silence and the lies and the way they rewrote history to make themselves the victims. But hate takes energy, and I spent too many years with too little energy to waste any of it on them. What I feel now is something quieter. I feel free, I feel whole, I feel like the girl who walked out of that house at 16 with $43 has finally been told that she was right to keep walking. Grandma Rose wrote that she saw something special in me. She was wrong about one thing, it wasn't special. It was just stubborn. Stubborn enough to survive, stubborn enough to build. Stubborn enough to wait 20 years for the truth. My parents lost 2 daughters that night. They just didn't know it yet. Lily is still there, still performing, still trying to be the only child. But she's performing for an audience that finally sees the act. And me? I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Surrounded by people who chose me. Wearing my grandmother's ring. Building something that matters. The family that threw me away spent 20 years forgetting I existed. I spent 20 years becoming someone they could never erase. 2. The golden child pattern years of conditioning. Growing up, Hannah learned early that the rules were different for her and Lily. When things went missing, Hannah was questioned first. When arguments happened, Hannah was told to be the bigger person. Lily learned something valuable from watching. Tears worked, accusations stuck, and Hannah made a convenient scapegoat. It started small, a broken vase blamed on Hannah, allowance money that disappeared from Lily's room. And now, finally, I don't need them to see me at all. I see myself. That's enough. That's everything. By the time Hannah was 14, she had stopped defending herself. No one believed her anyway. 3. Grandma Rose, the only one who saw. Grandma Rose was different. She watched both girls with knowing eyes. A month before she died, when Hannah was 14, she pulled Hannah aside. I see what's happening in this house, she said. I've written something for you. It's with my things. And I'm leaving you my ring. Don't let anyone take what's meant for you. Hannah never found the letter. After Grandma died, Lily was allowed into her room first to choose keepsakes.